Hi guys, BuildZoid here, and today we're going to be taking a look at and then taking for a spin these Corsair Dominator Platinum RGB memory sticks. So here's the packaging for it. It's not even a proper box, which leaves me quite disappointed. There's holes in it. It leaves me quite disappointed considering how expensive this kit is. But anyway, it's 32 gigs, 4 by 8 gigabytes. So 8 gigabyte sticks, and yeah, it's rated for 3600 megahertz, 16, 18. Actually, you know what? Let's just grab a stick. Goodbye, packaging. So here's one of the sticks that I pulled out of the system. The smiley face is because of some pre-testing I did with it, and yeah, it's not really a first impressions anymore because I have tested these memory kits. The memory sticks already. So this stick, basically, that means that it did 4100 CL12 on the Z390 Dark. But anyway, so you can see the timings. Actually, we can probably zoom in a bit more on those, can we? Come on, camera, I believe in you. Okay, camera can't quite focus on that yet. There we go. So yeah, it's 3600, 16, 18, 18, 36 primary timings at 1.35 volts. We can also see the version number right over there, which is version 4.31. That tells us this is a Samsung memory module, and considering the frequency and the timings, we can conclude that this is a stick of Samsung B-die. So the whole kit is 4 sticks of Samsung B-die memory at 3600, 16, 18, 18, 36 timings. So then, for the actual PCB, if you just look along the edge of the stick like so, you can clearly see that we have our memory chips in a group right over here. So we have chip 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So that's our 4 memory chips over here. The other side of the stick, we've got same thing. There's a great big gap in between them, and that tells us this is an A2 layout PCB. So if we actually, I've actually disassembled one of these sticks. So if we take a look at it closer, you'll actually notice that this is a, Corsair has the PCB quite heavily customized for the Dominators. And yeah, some of these things, obviously we have some RGB circuitry up here. So we have what looks to be some kind of switching regulator for the power of the memory. I think it might be a boost converter. I'm not entirely sure, but I would assume it's boost because the main power rail for DDR4 is like 1.2 volts, and well, powering LEDs with that would be kind of awkward. So, we probably have a boost converter for the LED power. Then we have, I assume over here, a microcontroller of some kind, though this might be all put together. The SPD chip is this little chip over there. Most normal DIMMs, so if we compare it to something more generic, like this is a regular A2 layout AFR 8 gigabit AFR stick that I have from Team Group. So like this has the SPD chip down here, right down there, and the Sharpie on there is just so that this was more legible. But yeah, that's the PCB there. Anyway, if we take a look at something like this, this is a A1 style layout, or it might be an A0. I need to check up on that. But this is an older style PCB layout. This one is meant to favor tight timings at the cost of sacrificing frequency. SPD chip's right there. So, Corsair's SPD chip is in a kind of different spot from where you'd normally see it because it's all the way up here. But ultimately, it shouldn't affect anything. The RGB LEDs are actually not integrated into the PCB of these Dominator sticks, which is kind of interesting because a lot of the other memory kits out there, they just have some LEDs right along the top edge of the PCB. Here, those are actually on a part of the, they're attached to the diffuser itself, and you have this little ribbon cable with a connector over here that connects the RGB diffuser and the RGB LEDs to the actual memory stick. So that's what's going on with that. Also, this PCB design is used for the entire lineup of Corsair Dominator RGB memory sticks. So, they all use this same exact PCB layout. And, I wouldn't say this, I've seen a lot of people sort of concerned about the RGB causing overclocking issues. I've not finished testing these, okay? So this is kind of early information, and it's kind of also the reason why there hasn't been any videos for the last couple of days, because I got these sticks in and I started testing them and things weren't going the way I wanted them to go. And part of that is just this is evident, like, basically, if you look at, say, like, how G-Skill does their Trident RGB sticks, they would have a A2... I don't have any G-Skill memory because I refuse to pay B-Die retail prices. It's basically why. Well, no, I have more interest in GPUs than RAM, so I blow all of the budget on GPUs, and, you know, then you can't buy a bunch of memory sticks. So, anyway, with like a lot of the other RGB kits out there, what they do is you get basically an A2 stick, and you see all this empty space up in the top edge of it. They'll either like extend that a little bit more and then cram the RGB circuitry in there as well as the LEDs, or and basically they'll retain the standard A2 layout. It will basically make no difference to the actual memory stick in terms of overclocking. So with and the thing about the A2 memory layout is this one is supposed to favor high frequency. Also, the Z390 Dark is generally supposed to be better at handling the A2 layout than it is at handling the A1 layout. The thing about these sticks right here is that Corsair does use this PCB all the way up to like a 4800 CL18 configuration, right? That's the highest speed bin that they make of these Corsair Dominators. But these sticks absolutely bloody hate the dark. And that's not going to be on the RGB circuitry because G-Skill's G-Skill's RGB sticks work just fine. And it's literally like, that stuff's not, it doesn't have a lot of impact on the, like, well, you're not going to shove your RGB circuitry where the actual memory traces are. Like, you're just not going to do that. That's silly. But it does seem that Corsair have customized the layout that they have. Like, it's still basically an A2, but the memory vendors can tweak it a little bit. Or a lot if they feel like it. Like, the main issue is if you make a really different memory layout from what everybody else is using, you're going to run into issues with compatibility, where your memory kit is just potentially not going to work on a lot of motherboards because it has different timing requirements compared to everybody else's. Which is basically what seems to be happening with this PCB on the Z390 Dark, because the Dark literally just has no idea how to train these sticks the moment you go above sort of 40 megahertz. So yeah, that's kind of why I've been like the original plan with these sticks was I was going to throw them on the Dark because that's my favorite motherboard to work with, and then we were just going to do like an overclocking video, and that went horribly. Funnily enough, these work actually much better on the X299 Dark, which is just like, I have no idea how that's a thing, considering the Skylake X memory controller is what it is. And by a lot better, I mean they actually train at 4200 megahertz, whereas on the Z390 Dark, they don't. So yeah, it's like Corsair's evidently customized the layout to some extent, and it seems to have some, like, I don't have the world's biggest sample size of A2 memory, okay? So do keep that in mind. But compared to all of my other sticks, what I've noticed is that these have great voltage tolerance. You can shove 2 volts into them and they do not complain whatsoever. All of my other sticks, if you shove straight 2 volts into them and don't do anything about the VTT DDR, they get horrifically unstable because the VTT DDR ends up being way too high. These sticks don't do that. The other thing these sticks do is they do 4100 4100 megahertz 28 1T timing, 2T on the Dark, because the Dark doesn't know how to deal with these properly, at a higher frequency than everything else in my collection. So these seem to be really, like, the PCB seems to be very capable. The memory chips themselves seem to be very capable, but it seems to be a case of, like, I need to try these on a different motherboard. Today we're just going to run them on X299 because, quite frankly, they do seem to work just fine on the X299 Dark, which is just, like, as I said, it's really odd to me, especially considering Corsair very specifically markets this kit as most compatible with, like, Intel 300 series platforms. But yeah, we'll try a bunch of those boards as well. It's just that I wanted to do some other things with X299, and with the space restrictions that I work in, it doesn't, like, I can't really have a Z390 motherboard, like a Z390 system set up and a X299 system set up, and basically there's no, like, I can't really run those test benches at the same time. Like, the camera's standing where the Z390 system would currently be if it weren't for this video. So yeah, that's kind of one of the issues that I've run into. So I've not gotten around to testing these on any of my other Z390 boards, but yeah, also this gold stripe, which I kind of forgot to address. So this golden tab right here, that is so that's actually directly connected to the ground plane of the memory sticks. And the idea behind that is that it's to help with thermal dissipation. Now, I have my doubts about that working, considering this is what the heat spreaders look like for these memory sticks, right? Like, it is all metal. It doesn't look very metal, but it is all metal. So this is a very, this is a thin aluminum plate. Those fins are also probably aluminum. I scratched through the paint to check. So they are definitely made of metal. I think you can just about see the mark there. So these aren't plastic or anything. But at the same time, it's like this barely has more surface area than the PCB. And at that point, you have to wonder, well, would the PCB just bare like this be better at shedding heat than with a, because this potentially just acts as an airflow restrictor at that point. Because if it doesn't add surface area, right, all it does is it makes the fitment between the DIMMs tighter for any airflow to occur. So, yeah, I'll need to figure out some way to test that, but that is just kind of one of my one of the only concerns I have with these sticks. At the same time, DDR4, it's like, it's not really, DDR4 overheating is not so much it's not a major concern, because it's not like it's gonna die. It just gets really unstable if it gets too warm, especially if you're pushing like higher voltages on B-die, then that is actually a major concern. If it gets too warm, it gets really, really unstable very, very quickly. So that is something I'm going to be testing. But I kind of wish, like with Corsair, I kind of wish they offered maybe these kinds of sticks without all of the RGB. Because the thing is, like, and speaking of the RGB, I will say this. The color that this RGB implementation produces is gorgeous. It's also impossible to capture on camera for me. I've tried. I can't get these to look on camera the way they look in real life. And I think they, like, honestly, I'm impressed. And I'm not, a huge RGB fan. I ultimately kind of don't care about RGB that much in any real, like, sense. It's just kind of like, oh, my system lights up, my system doesn't light up. Don't really care. If it doesn't give me useful information about, like, the operating temperature or voltage or something, it could be, the whole thing could be lighting up pink, and I just wouldn't really give a damn. But I will say that I am really impressed with the colors these achieve, but the overall look with these basically being like giant pixels, not really a fan, but you can judge that for yourself. Anyway, let's throw them into the X299 Dark and, start doing some overclocking with these. I've been quite impressed with their capability on X299, mostly because X299's memory controller is much better at doing one-tick command rate than the Z391. Which is also just one of those strange Intel memory controller things. So, see if I can solve the DIMM with one hand. At an awkward angle. Oh boy. That's one. Let's get this one in. And yeah, I have been running this stick just bare like this. I honestly kind of prefer the look of it with just the bare circuitry. Also, if you're wondering about this foam pad, that's completely normal for most DDR4 memory sticks to do. That's not Corsair being cheap. Well, if Corsair's being cheap with this foam pad, then literally every memory vendor out there is being cheap with their own foam pad, because this is the standard way of getting the heatsink, like the heat spreader spacing on memory sticks to match the height of DDR4 memory chips. This is just how it's done, because it's cheap. So yeah. Anyway, let's throw these in the system and start overclocking them. There we go, that's installed, and at this point, see if this powers up. So, and from here on, I have no idea how this will go. So, it should go okay-ish, but, like, And we're in the BIOS. So this is the latest version of the X299's Dark BIOS. And quite frankly, with the memory like the overclocking on the older BIOS didn't seem any like worse in any significant way. So yeah, but I've updated to the latest BIOS because the old BIOS is kind of laggy compared to the new one. Well, nope, the new one's also kind of laggy. so there goes that. But yeah, not the most responsive BIOS ever, but it's not the worst at the same time. So let's just go to 30. 0, 0. We're gonna keep that stock. Also, the CPU is on liquid metal because I tried to run this on thermal paste, and the thing about the X299 memory controller is if it gets hot, it complains. I mean, kind of everything. If it gets hot, it might not necessarily degrade or die, but it will complain. So, yeah. Anyway, we're gonna keep the voltages a bit low. Just because this is a 7940X and it's not the best one. I have the die like significantly like I've lapped the die on this a bunch of times, and well, the temperatures haven't really gotten any better. So anyway, so we're gonna go for 1.3 there. Disable our VCC in droop. So this doesn't actually affect our V-core, it just affects the VCC in, and that voltage, like, we don't really care about it too much. It's just the main issue with that voltage is it has to stay relatively high, because if it's too low, you're going to start losing performance because the CPU starts throttling. And Hardware Info recently, I think, got an update that allows you to actually pick up on that throttling effect. So the funny thing about X299, which I'm not sure how many people are aware of, is that VCCSA is not actually connected to much of anything, as like basically that voltage has little to no impact on overclocking whatsoever. VCCIO primarily affects your cache overclocking, but if you push it too high on the newer microcodes, it actually causes it just causes a bunch of instability for some reason. So there's like an extreme overclocking BIOS for the X299 Dark that uses a really old CPU microcode so that it avoids the VCCIO issues, which is fun. And then the main voltage for memory overclocking is this uncore offset voltage down here. And the thing is, I am not sure what that's called on most other motherboards. And then we get these PLL trim offsets. These are actually voltage settings. And I've messed around with them a bit. They don't seem to have much impact whatsoever. So you should just leave them at +0. So have they? Nah, they haven't added any OC profiles. So then, let's start with just XMP. So, fun fact, the XMP on these actually would like to set the TRRDL looser than this, but one of the big differences between sort of X299 and Z390, like there's so many differences between the different Intel memory controllers, but for example, like TRRDS and L on X299 cannot go above 7. They literally just stop at 7. So on Z390, by comparison, both of those go all the way up to 15. TFall, funnily enough, still goes all the way up to 63, which the reason why that's funny is because the 4-activate window is actually sort of, it should be basically matched to 4 times your TRRD timing, because, well, like, essentially what will happen is if we have TFall at 40 ticks here, you'll go through your TRRD as your activate timing, so you'll have like a 7 ticks, 7 ticks, 7 ticks, 7 more ticks, and then it'll also wait for like a bunch of ticks to actually fulfill that TFall window. So, yeah, basically this just stacks delay on top of your TRRD timing. Which is generally kind of like, it loses a bunch of performance and it's kind of unnecessary, but we'll leave it on for XMP. We go down here. It'll default, the CPU will default to a 2-tick command rate, but funnily enough, the X299 memory controller is much, much easier to do 1-tick command rate on than like the mainstream Intel CPUs. And the X99 memory controller also does 1-tick easier than the mainstream CPUs, which is kind of interesting. Like on the mainstream platforms, it's basically like the motherboard has a huge amount of impact on your 1T command rate capability. On X299, most boards do 1T. And they do it most of the time, regardless of how many DIMMs you have, what frequency you're running. Admittedly, the frequency generally doesn't go above, like, the actual memory controller itself on the CPU isn't that great, so you'll probably not get above like 4200, but it can go, but it can do 4200 at like 1T pretty much no problem. So anyway, let's save and reset. So the B6 to B7 postcodes are the actual memory training. So if those pass and we have all of our memory DIMMs, well, you can't see it because the camera, like I don't have a camera angle on it, but the X299 Dark has a bunch of LEDs indicating if all of your DIMM slots are working. Let's go into Windows, just run some basic memory benchmarks. So we could run some IDA. I do believe I currently have MaxMem set up, so I was basically messing around with, like really aggressive memory settings. So we'll disable that, but it doesn't really affect the benchmark scores for now, so we'll just go okay, apply, okay, exit without restart. Let's just do a baseline IDA test. Do benchmarks, read. 3600 megahertz, especially on auto timings, I don't expect anything particularly spectacular. Oh, we're still getting 100 gigabytes per second. It's nice. We can definitely, I've had it all the way up to like 122 gigabytes per second, but pushing some really ridiculous timings. So we'll see if we can hit that without, resorting to insane timings. Though the thing is, my X7940X's memory controller doesn't really seem to be the best at doing 4200 megahertz. So yeah, like pretty much regardless of memory kit used. So I'm not going to blame the kit for that, because it basically just loses one of the memory channels always. And it's always the same channel. In fact, that channel has a general timing problem. Man, the copy test takes forever. Okay, so we're getting what, 79? Yeah, so write for some reason is lower on X299 than read. And memory latency on X299 is bloody atrocious because it uses the mesh architecture instead of ring. Which is also why the 9900K is a better gaming CPU than literally anything on X299. Also because you can basically get the, like, you can pretty much hit, like, 65 gigabytes per second read, and write on Z390 quite easily. So it's not like X299 has some huge bandwidth advantage if you have a good Z390 motherboard and a good Z390 memory kit. And, man, that is atrocious. That is awful. 68 nanoseconds. Damn. Okay, so it's very slow right now. Let's restart. And make it less slow. And I should stop resting my arm on the test bench. It's shaking because of me. There we go. So 1.45 for now. And let's just see if we can go... And I honestly don't like these sub-timings, so we're just going to drop that to 28 and, zero that out, 1T command, right? And go to 1T, and actually, let's start at something reasonable, because I don't actually believe the CPU is going to do 4200 on all 4 memory channels. Anyway. Yep. Okay, 4000 megahertz, CL16, all 4 memory channels working. There we go. So we do still have all 4 memory channels right now, and that is with 1 tick command rate. And just for fun, most, so far Z390, in my experience with Z390 motherboards, let's put it this way. The ITX MSI board does 1T only up to like 3900 megahertz. Past that, it needs 2T. The Z390 Dark has 1T working only under very specific timing configurations. most of the time you're stuck with 2T. Asus has a really Asus has 1T working across a very wide frequency range compared to most other Z390 boards. The downside to it is if you want to run 1T on Asus boards, they take forever to post because they have a custom memory training procedure to make 1T work, and that procedure takes way longer than everybody else does, like, you know, than what you normally do if you're not going to bother with 1T. So it's kind of just Intel mainstream memory controller things. X299 doesn't really seem to care, though it is worth noting that in my experience with X299, actually having a motherboard that does 4000 megahertz at all, whatever, like regardless of what timing you run, is actually really hard. Okay, so it's the X299 Micro 2 does 4000 megahertz great in my experience. The X299 Dark does it great in my experience. I don't think I ever actually managed to get 4000 megahertz working on the X299 OC formula from ASRock, and I don't know about the rest of the X299 boards, but I've heard some pretty bad stuff about some of them. Like, I've not used them, obviously, but I've heard not that great memory speeds from the rest, so yeah, like, if you want to run high speed on X299, you kind of have to have a pretty damn good board. I'm not going to go to 4200 because I don't believe the CPU is going to train it. So we're going to go with the BCLK method. Going to go to 46. That might be a bit generous. Let's go 4040. Let's see if that works. So this board does a false start after you change BCLK. So that's why it just like booted up and immediately shut down without even going to the BC. Like, yeah, there we go. Now we're doing memory training. So B6, B7, memory training. We still have all our memory channels, so that's pretty good. Yeah, so we're at 101. We're probably going to have to drop our mesh ratio just because the mesh kind of sucks on the CPU. I think it tops out at like 32 or 33, something like that. So, and I'm not running enough voltage for that yet. So go 1.102. We still have all our memory channels. We can also check our RTLs, and there's nothing really wrong. Yeah, see, this memory channel right there, that memory channel sucks. That one, like, if we're going to lose a memory channel at high frequency, it's going to be this channel right here. And it's just a thing that it does. So, and it does it on every motherboard, too. It's not just the Dark. As soon as I start pushing the CPU to high frequencies, this memory channel derps out and dies. So, that's great. I love you, 7940X from eBay. You were cheap, but you weren't good. There we go. But do we still have all our memory channels? That is the question. And the BIOS will answer that. Yep, we have all our memory channels. You can see them all the way up here. Why board vendors have mice in freaking BIOSes, I will never understand. Well, at least I can point to that very slowly. So, yeah, but we have all our memory channels, so that's great. If we check our RTLs, there's still it's not getting, well, no, now channel 3 has joined channel 1 in being terrible, but that's fine. Like, I expect it to get worse as we crank up the frequency. It's just channel 1 does it before all the other channels do, so yeah, that's the concerning part. So 4120. Unfortunately, there's not that much choice in terms of memory ratio on X299, so you get 4000 and 4200. Like, the 3900 ratio is missing, 3866 is missing, 3333 is missing, 3133 is missing. Like, yeah, this memory controller is very different from what you get on mainstream Intel platforms. The other differences are also things like if we go all the way down here to TREFI, this actually tops out at 32767. You cannot go above that. Like, if we punch in yeah, well, let's do that. Yeah, so it just gives us that. Okay, that's 33,333. Yeah, and it defaults us back to 32,767. So that's another difference compared to your regular mainstream CPUs. We're going to leave that on auto for now for our for the sake of timings. Also, your tertiary timings are actually completely different. So if you look at like a mainstream Intel memory controller, these look very different to what you have here on X299. And you don't, well, some motherboards give you access to the CCD and CCD, like the cast-to-cast delay timings over here, but on X299, those are pretty much always accessible. Also, if you're on any X299 EVGA motherboard, never, ever, ever enable force memory retraining. That's a great way to force yourself into clearing the CMOS, which reminds me that I should probably save a profile at this point. So, RGB, 4080, right? Yeah. Well, I think... Okay, BIOS locked up for a bit. At this point, it's 4120, but let's see if that works. And we do still have all of our memory channels, so that's quite nice. We should be able to hit a very, very high memory bandwidth at this point. So I think we'll just run IDA because at 4200 I expect one of the memory channels to just completely give up on us. That's assuming we can even make it into Windows at this speed, because again, this memory controller really isn't the best. I wish X299 CPUs weren't so expensive, because I'd be totally down for buying a couple of them, to a couple 7940Xs to find one that doesn't suck, but that would be a lot of money. Okay, so where is IDA? So benchmark, memory read, and at this point I expect to see over 120 gigabytes, well, close to 120 gigabytes per second. Our subtimings are still pretty awful. And that tells us it's not stable whatsoever. Great, awesome. Memory do we have? Performance. Yeah. That's not great. So now we'll see if I can get the memory controller to work at this frequency or not. Which, there's not really that much you can do. You can basically just raise the uncore offset and hope that it works before you break the memory controller. Which we're already pretty, like, the voltage is already pretty heavy-handed at this point. Enter setup. So, yeah, I honestly, for day-to-day usage, I wouldn't recommend going past this, but for going past 450, but, well, it looks like we're going to have to, because this CPU's memory controller is not the best. Also going to try loosen out some of these timings. Actually, you know what, let's just go to all 18. And I'll leave that at 17. We can still keep the 1T command rate, probably. 400... This is unnecessarily high, and this... Let's try that. And I think these are actually straight up wrong at this point, so... I'm gonna try that. So, fun fact with your tertiary timings is if you can set them really loose, and it'll actually make stability worse if you do it wrong, so... Yeah, I've had good success. Like, I've had decent success with stability at just having 4.8 having these right here. So we'll try these and hope that that works. But I've not spent that, like, it's been a while since I've last worked on X299. So they might be wrong. And I'll leave everything else alone. Yes. Yeah, still have all our memory channels, so hopefully this will make it pass. Oh, the stability is probably atrocious. Oh, that's not a good sign. Getting stuck on the 4F code. And, Good job me. I screwed something up. It's probably the WTRs. Fortunately, this board, unlike the Z390 Dark, doesn't have a safe boot button. So you have to clear the CMOS whenever it doesn't want to post. So the funny thing, actually, another kind of funny thing about this memory kit is I've actually had it doing like 4,000, 15, 15, 15, 32 or something, benchmark stable on the Z390 Dark. So we're not really bumping up against the limits of the memory kit here whatsoever. We're just bouncing, like, it's literally just my 7940X's memory controller just can't do this kind of thing. Probably begging for mercy. Buildzoid, why would you do this to me? I have 4 memory channels. I can't run them this fast. Screw you, 7940X. I want my 4100. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that what I screwed up last time was these down here. So I don't think it was these. Nope, I wanted 8 in there. Let's just go to 400 and 32. There. I still kept the cast latency at 16, didn't I? It's doing the same thing again. I'll give the board a second chance. Memory training. Okay, that passes. Oh, looks like it'll make it this time. But it's probably horrifically unstable. So unstable, it didn't catch me mashing the delete key. So, yeah, that's not gonna work. If we're lucky, we'll make it into the BIOS. I wonder if the next jet, like... I've heard that apparently X299 isn't getting replaced anytime soon, so I'm kind of hoping that they come out with some CPUs with better memory controllers when it comes to high frequency, because right now these kind of suck. Because I've also tried 4000 15 15 15 on this CPU, and it doesn't do that at all. Well, it doesn't do that unless you shove way too much voltage into it, so... Though, to be fair, doing 4000 megahertz on X299 at all is kind of an achievement. Especially with the chip I have here. It's not very good. Okay, I think I'll just clear the CMOS at this point. I was kind of hoping I'd be able to get it up to 4200, but... At that point, I'm pretty sure it would just... Well, it'll definitely just lose channel 1 again. Okay, well, I'll load up the old profile. I guess we can try pass IDA at 102 instead of 103. I'd like to do it at decent timings, though. And these currently aren't what I would consider decent. Also, fun fact about X299, you can actually run your TRP at different values than your TRCD, which is not possible on what's it called? Z390. Let's just keep that at 16 for now, because that one tends to be annoying for the memory controller. 44. TRC for this, we should be at 48. Which is probably the limit of what the memory controller can do at this higher frequency. Leave everything else alone. We'll fix those if this works. Yes, maybe at 103 the Uncore was getting too high again. Nah. 29 times... Yeah, that was still just under 3 gigahertz, or around 3 gigahertz, so it should have been fine. Let's see if IDA runs this time. And then we'll throw memtest at it just to see how many errors it pukes up. It should be awful. Okay, let's see if we can even do memory read. IDA's not that heavy in terms of memory stability. Like, the benchmark tests really aren't that hard to do. Yeah, oh, damn, I think that's a record for me. 124.5 gigabytes per second. See if we can do over 100 in write. Nope, 85. That's a really big gap. And then latency should be still terrible. Unfortunately, ASRock memory timing... Well, I've not tried it on the new BIOS. But generally... Well, it hasn't worked in the past, so... I have my doubts about it working this time. Yeah, 53 nanoseconds, I mean... It's the lowest in this list, but this list isn't very impressive. Okay, I'm used to seeing, like, sub 40 nanosecond latencies on the E390. I guess maybe compared to Ryzen, this isn't that bad, but as far as I'm concerned, like compared to like Intel platforms, it's bad. It's pretty bad. Okay, tricks. Of course, we're currently on a 780 Ti, if anybody's wondering. What did I want to run again? Right, memtest. Is memtest even on here? It should be. There it is. Test 30. Oh boy. Yeah, that looks... let's just take one of those out. I don't really want to see the blue screen immediately. And now we Windows tab. Whoa, it's not puking up air. Oh, nope. There goes our first one. And there goes another, and another. And another. And another one. And another one, and they're speeding up, so the memory controller's warming up, and things are getting steadily worse. Also, the memory sticks are warming up, and that kind of just screws everything over, so... Yeah, So, 4000 probably wouldn't be possible to, like... Maybe with really loose primary timing... Well, really loose timings, this would be possible to stabilize, but... Yeah, my CPU's memory controller just kind of isn't up to the task of running frequencies this high. But the kit's good, so... And it works great on this board. This is just that I really wish I had a CPU that actually ran 4200 at any timings. Which this one doesn't. And we can, I guess we can still... What? We've got... Yeah, it's 44 minutes. Most of my memory overclocking videos are like an hour, so let's see just how far I can push the frequency. If we just throw everything throw everything out the window and go like, yay, max frequency. Where will this land? So let's go for something nice and easy like that. We're gonna go all auto on everything else. The board should be, of course, 2-tick command rate. Who cares about having good latency, right? 1024. No, it's 23. I think that's the limit. Yeah. Auto on that. Leave those alone. Actually, it might be this one. Oh, whatever. It's just been way too long since I've last messed with memory timing. So let's see if we can do 4200. I'm going to drop the BCLK back down for this. So I'm pretty sure we won't get 4400 to post at all because this chip, I'll be surprised if we have more than 3 memory channels right now. If this posts. It should, but still, I'll be surprised if we have all memory channels. Okay, so it trained. That's good. And we lost a memory channel. So, yeah. There's just nothing I can do about that, this chip's memory controller. It just doesn't do 4200. So, and if we enter the BIOS, you can now see that up we go. There we go. See? No memory stick. It's missing our memory stick. So that's great. And you can actually even see it here. Channel 0 has decided that it doesn't want to be on this world anymore. The 4200 megahertz is just asking way too much from it. So, yeah. It bailed on us. Great channel right there. Be like Channel 0. A truly inspirational part of my CPU's memory controller. Anyway, let's see if we can go even higher, though I have doubts about that. And I dropped the voltage just in case it's a thermal effect. Because the timings are so loose that we really shouldn't need a full 1.5 volts right now. I would still totally recommend this memory kit for X299. Especially if you actually like the RGB, unlike me, where I'm mostly just happy that these sticks... Because the thing is, these sticks actually, for 4012-1212, they've done a better job than a lot of the rest of my collection, so... actually, we could try that after we see where this stops having any memory channels. Yeah, so that didn't help. But we are at 4242, so... See if we can do 102. We still have only 3 memory channels though. But after this, I think I'll go back into Windows, turn MaxMem back on, and we'll see if we can do. Like I've had the kit all the way up to 3990, 12. So we'll see if we can do that. And that's actually pretty. And that was like 3990 with 1T command rate and proper subtimings, not 3990 with 12 primaries and a mess instead of, subtimings. Oh, okay. So I think we've just hit the limit of my memory controller because you can't see it, but I'll show you. Damn it, that's not what I wanted to grab. There. You can see that we're stuck on the 9C postcode here. The board's so unstable, it can't even load the BIOS. Yeah, 7940X things when you can't do 4284. And we can try again, but I don't expect it to make it past the BIOS loading screen. I mean, it doesn't even make it to that. I don't expect it to make it past the splash screen. Oh, wait. It's working this time. How many memory channels do we... Oh, now it's dead again. Yeah, so at this point, it's just as unstable as when I was trying to do what was like... Yeah, well, it's at this point, it just doesn't work again. I'm going to clear. Go all the way to Windows. Set up MaxMem, and we'll see what kind of latency I can force out of this memory controller. Actually, we should do pretty well on write bandwidth at low timings as well. Though the maximum bandwidth will actually be a bit lower overall. Like the the read bandwidth will be worse. Write bandwidth will be better. I know that because I've already tested it. Nope. Oh, damn it. Yeah, so the kit works fine. It's just my CPU. Well, on X299 it's my CPU, and on Z390 it was my choice of motherboard. So we'll see how it does on something like the Z390 Aorus Master, which I'm hoping that board does really well with it because it is a 4x8 kit. So, you know, it's like kind of like that's the board it's kind of targeted for because that's a T topology board, 4 DIMMs. I also plan to test it on the Maximus 11 Gene because, well, if the Dark doesn't like this kit, there's maybe a chance that the Gene will, but I don't know. Let's see, what did I want? Right, I wanted maxmem. So we go into MS config, system config here, enable this, and we're gonna go for like 8,000. And the reason why you have to do this is for some reason Samsung VDI has a percentage limit of usable memory based on how hard the settings you're running are. Well, it's actually more related to the voltage you're running it at than the absolute settings, but yeah, it's just VDI things basically. So we're going to load up that profile again, except this time instead of going for high frequency, we're going to go to maybe 99. And what does that give us? Okay, that gives us 3960. Okay, that's actually a dumb way to do it. Let's go to 100. And 3800. 12, 12, 12. Actually, that should work at already like 1.85 volts with this kit. Considering that it only needs around 2 for 4,000. We'll see if that works out. 28, 44. I'll leave that one on auto because I tend to set that one wrong. 9. 1T command rate, that's fine. 10. 280. 32767. 3, 9. 9. 8. And all of our memory channels are working. And hopefully we'll make it into Windows because I have the maximum set low enough. Loading. Yay, Windows! So, actually, I didn't try ASRock timing utility, did I? So let's see. Nope, still doesn't work. It just shows zeros for everything. But if you go into CPU-Z and also how much memory do we have available, performance, yeah, we have 5 gigs of RAM. So that actually works out just fine because we have 32 gigs total. So there's our lovely timings. Quite impressive. Let's see how the latency works out at this point. Assuming IDA even is stable enough, but the bandwidth's going to be low because we're losing a whole bunch of frequency, but the latency should be pretty good because the timings are so low. At least I hope it will be good. Also, the latency test, yeah, okay, so we're doing 50. I'm pretty sure most of the latency in that there is not the actual memory controller. It's the connection, it's the ring to the core connection. That's giving us that horrible latency figure right there, so So that's mostly going to be just delay from the ring, from the mesh, not the ring, but yeah. Anyway, let's see if we can do 4000. Now, considering how hard a time this CPU has with high frequency, even at loose timings, I've not had much success with doing straight up 4000 at 12, 12, 12. In fact, I've not had much success with 4000 at tight timings whatsoever. But I've gotten all the way up to like 3990. So yeah, and the one thing I like about this memory kit is I can just whack 2.04 volts into this and it works. Whereas a lot of my other memory in my collection, I can't do this because this board doesn't have VTT DDR settings, and I have not put a volt mod on this board to give me VTT DDR control. So if I want to shove 2.04 volts into the memory, what ends up happening is the VTT DDR for 2.04 volts, the way that voltage is generated is there's basically an LDO on the X299 Dark. There's an LDO that has that just chops the VDIM in half. And the problem with that is if it's 1.02 volts, it's too high for all of my other memory kits, which run best on like 0.95 or 0.93 or somewhere in that range. And so, yeah, without a physical modification to that LDO to get voltage control, this would be completely unstable. But with this kit, this is perfectly stable and perfectly viable. In fact, I've run all the way up to 2.07 volts without doing anything to VTT DDR when I was testing it on the Z390 Dark. But yeah, the memory controller is probably not going to boot this. Or if it does, we're going to lose a memory channel. Oh. Oh, damn. Okay, we have all our... Oh, no. It's stuck at 22. We have all the memory channels. It's just not stable. Yeah. Okay. Try that again. I should have saved a profile. At this point, I would prefer it if it dropped a channel and let us get in. Oh? Maybe? Come on! You piece of garbage! I really wish this had a safe boot. Oh man, oh, we made it. And it's even rolling. It's still running. Well, this is a first for me. I've never had this work. So, okay, we're gonna have to... Yeah, we all have all channels and everything. That's... Damn. Like, I've literally never had this work. So, at this point, I'm kind of surprised. Like, this didn't even work when I was doing my sort of pre-testing for this, so... Okay, well, let's try 260. And, bumped up the memory controller voltage because I don't believe that it'll... Well, I have my doubts about this being Windows stable. If even IDA stable. Like, at this point, it's just like, can we make it into the operating system? Come on. It's loading. I think it failed. Yeah, it failed. Yep. Not Windows stable. So, needs more tweaking. We could try lower the max mem. That could potentially help the stability. That could potentially fix it. But I think what I'm going to do is mess with the voltages more. Actually, there's more settings I could mess with, but the issue is that there's just like, again with memory settings, right? There's like, this is just the timings, right? Like so far we've just constrained ourselves to the timings, but if we go here, we have RTLs. We can play with these. We can also play with all of these. And quite frankly, I don't feel like doing that right now because this video is now an hour long, and I think it's about time to say goodbye. But like, even just posting this to me is really impressive, because I've literally not managed to do 4,000, even at 12, 12, 12, 28, 1T on the dark ever. My best memory profile on this motherboard is like 3950 or 3960, and that barely works for Cinebench. And Cinebench is not exactly what you would call a memory stress test, okay? And that's Cinebench 15, not 20. 20 might be a bit heavier. I kind of doubt it. It just seems, well, no, Cinebench 20 is at least longer than Cinebench 15, so it might be a bit more memory stressful. Because, you know, just if the benchmark runs for longer, there's a higher chance that in that time period of running, it's going to hit a memory error. But, yeah, the fact that this posts at all, like, I'm surprised. So, yeah, kit's great. My 7940X's memory controller, not so much. I guess let's see if I can show the whole system running. It's not like the RGB is going to look very good, but yeah, unfortunately the webcam just doesn't do the RGB justice. Like there. Right? So also, I do have the fan on the memory because this kit has been a little bit temperature sensitive in when I, like, at these voltages that I'm pushing right now, it is just, well, everything starts being temperature sensitive once you shove 2 volts into it. So that's why the fan's there. If it was for like daily settings, then obviously well, I actually dailied this exact test bench for a while, like in this configuration. Different motherboard, and different platform, but this cooling system would not have been out of place for my day-to-day usage for a very long time. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of that. You know, on X299 the kit works great. On the Z390 Dark, it doesn't work very well at all. It's like it just hits like it stops at 4,000 megahertz. But again, I need to test it on more Z390 motherboards. For X299, I think this is going to basically become my go-to benchmarking kit, because again, I've not had a single kit even post this on the dark so far. I still can't actually believe that worked. Like, I've never made it into the BIOS at this kind of settings, so yeah, I'm really rather impressed at this point. And so I guess thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. If you'd like to support what I do here with actually hardcore overclocking, then I have a Patreon. There's also Teespring, you know, so you can pick up shirts, stickers, socks, posters, all kinds of things on Teespring. And if you don't want to buy anything, there's obviously the Patreon. Wait a minute. Oh, damn, I just bumped up the Encore to 550. I didn't think that would actually fix it. So there goes the outro. I'm sorry, guys, but it seems like we're back in business. This thing's posted getting into Windows at this point. And it hasn't managed to lock up yet. Yeah, 12, 12, 12. Damn. Okay, I want to see that latency. Should be under 50 at this point. It's so gonna crash. It's so gonna crash. The latency test is one of the heavier ones there. Read and write are super light. Copy is a bit heavy. Latency's a bit heavy. None of them really compared to real benchmarks like Geekbench. Yeah, so finally got it under 50. Still, awful platform for memory latency. I wonder how the write works out at this point. Nope, still about 85 gigabytes. Yeah, so that's not going anywhere. So what's the read like? You could probably finish 3D Mark Firestrike on these settings. Yeah, so a little bit less read. We're at 23 gigs instead of 24 and a half, but that's almost margin of error at that point. Yeah, also my my Encore right now is kind of clocked a bit low, but still. Like, for benchmarking, this is basically now my go-to memory kit, because I've literally not managed to run this on even the X299 Micro 2 with all of the mods that I did on that board. Like, I got 4012 12 12 at 2T, not 1. So yeah, this is quite something for me. Anyway, so there, I've already went through most of the outro, so I won't bore you with that. What else did I want to say? Like, share, I've gone through that. I actually did the whole outro, didn't I? Yeah, sorry for screwing that up like this. Oh yeah, I wanted to also mention that, you know, one last thing, like, I think I've said that I actually can't remember what I said at the start of the video. That's one of the issues, but, anyway, also thanks to Corsair to, you know, sending me this kit and letting me keep it. If I forgot to mention that at the start, they are letting me keep this memory kit. That's just kind of the agreement I have with Corsair when it comes to any memory kits that they send me for testing. This should be able to run 3D Mark. I'm still gonna run 3D Mark Firestrike in the background, but yeah. So thanks for watching and goodbye. I'm gonna hit the stop button at this point. So yeah, I've said everything. Stop!